All right, everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues, episode 35. Jonathan Gruber, you'll remember him as one of the main proponents of Obamacare, in which he openly stated, in private, and this was leaked at the time, oh, yeah, we had to lie to people because people don't know what they want and they're dumb, and so we have to, give it a happy name and not talk too much about the aspects of the ACA that are going to screw people. You remember Jonathan Gruber. He tried to defraud this state and just settled a suit with our Attorney General. They actually called him in to conduct a study on single payer, the idea that fell through in Vermont. Even Shumlin ended up abandoning single payer. Cautionary lesson to the U.S. I know single payer sounds good on paper, but if the state of Vermont, far blue as it is and tax-friendly as it is, can't make single payer work, you think it's going to work for people in Wyoming or Texas or the Dakotas or something? It would be a fuck up. It won't work. I'm sorry, but when a bunch of fiscal liberals in one of the bluest states abandon the idea, and Jonathan Gruber himself, again, one of the chief proponents of Obamacare, can't make it get through, now you're going to have a problem. But what he did apparently is this. He was allowed to submit, statements saying, oh, we had this cost and that cost, and get reimbursed while doing this study for the state of Vermont. And it ran into the many hundreds of thousands of dollars. What happened is that he was submitting in his expense reports, he was submitting work he himself was not actually doing and embezzling that money. He got sued by the state of Vermont. Again, we are probably the bluest state at this point, Hillary aside. Of course, for Bernie, this state would have gone 99% for Sanders. It wouldn't have been some high 50 mark for Clinton. And he defrauded us, or he tried to, and we managed now to recover a substantial proportion of that loss. But he was trying to take the state for a ride. Isn't he a slippery character? He defrauds the American people with the ACA. Openly and avowedly, according to his statements that were leaked to people. I think that was 2 years ago. That happens. Then he comes here, and this shifty character tries to defraud us too. And it's like people in this state largely supported the ACA because a lot of them are partisan Democrats. Hey, partisan Democrats, one of your friends tried to defraud you of your tax money in return for single payer that any sane person knew was not going to happen in the first place. Shumlin himself abandoned it. Shumlin, fiscally speaking at least, is far left. Hell, Phil Scott's to the left fiscally at this point, which is pretty funny to see since he's supposedly in the GOP. Yeah, so Jonathan Gruber attempted to defraud us, and he got caught out. Whoops, yeah, sorry I put these staffers' work on my expense report so I could double dip and take that money, because they're being paid too. Yeah, I totally did this work. At least 2 of these statements were fraudulently submitted in their totals, and it's not a small amount of money we're talking about. They shouldn't have settled, though. They should have dragged him through court longer. They should attempt criminal charges for fraud. That's what should have been done. They should have really thrown him against the wall. Unfortunately, they didn't, but you recover the money, and it's like Jonathan Gruber at this point, his name is disgraced. Like, now, the state of Vermont had to take him down, so you're welcome to the rest of the country. Like, everyone already knew Jonathan Gruber was a slimeball. Not just because he was involved with the failed ACA, but because of his own statements leaked about it. Now you have undisputable proof. The Attorney General of the state of Vermont, again, have to keep reminding you of this, very blue state, nailed him to the wall too for that attempt at fraud. So I thought that was funny. Several people actually just submitted it to me. I already had like the tags filled out. I already had the title. I'm like, oh, this is solid gold because, it involves Jonathan Gruber in Vermont. Couldn't get better than this. It was solid gold. I already had it on there, and people kept submitting it to me. They're having a good laugh too, because it's so surreal. Like, we called him in here. We're like, oh, you think we need single payer? It wasn't going to happen. We spent money through the nose studying whether it would be possible in this state. We found out, nope, it's not possible. The amount of tax increases we would have to impose to make single payer work in the state would require either basically taking a chainsaw to a bunch of other state spending, which means, goodbye to all the other benefits people get in this state, which wouldn't work. Or you would have had to have massively raised taxes. Trust me, if the tax rate in Vermont were a few points higher, I would not be living here. It would no longer be a question of when I leave. It would be a question of, oh yeah, let's gas the car up. Fuck it. Go over to New Hampshire or to some other greener pasture in the country. So a warning, the state government of Vermont, you can't raise taxes any higher. We're already sky high. They wanted to talk about single payer. Wonderful. I'd rather move. At that point, I would rather move. You know, regardless of my feelings about Vermont. It would be far too problematic. It's like you can boil the frog for a while. That wouldn't be boiling the frog. That would be taking a lit torch and like shoving it down the frog's throat to attempt to impose single payer in this state or in this country. Gruber's a slime ball. That's why he helped create a slime ball so-called overhaul of healthcare. He got sued by the state of Vermont about as liberal and pro-single payer and Obamacare as it could be. He still ends up trying to defraud us. And so he got settled out by the state's attorney general. So good on our attorney general, you know, for actually holding his feet to the fire. You shouldn't have settled the case, though. You should have thrown him in a jail cell and treated him like anyone else in the same situation. Should have attempted to get the federal government to bring charges against that idiot. That's about all. Peace out.